Okay, so the camera's working. They can hear us.
I don't have access to the chat.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Okay, well, you can use this one here. Oh, to get the link.
Yeah, I can do it. Here, let's just Google it. A quick Google search. It was the scholar.
UIS competition.
Okay. Technology. There, this.
And then one was the
Students. Okay, yeah.
And then I think I just clicked on that main page. There's a link to like the PDF, like at the top there.
This one.
Post or winning posters was one of them, or past winners for full announcement, I think was the PDF. That was it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're organized.
All right. I think we're ready. Okay, and the recording is going.
And
I'll do a quick. You're good. There we go. All right. Welcome back from Reading Week, everyone. Glad to have you guys join us. Today we have a guest speaker joining us, so I'll introduce you to her shortly. Just a quick reminder, I want a couple announcements. I'll do attendance at the first break, just so that we can kind of roll right into it. And then also, if you have not yet submitted your assignment 3 that was due last night at 11:59, so get that in today or as soon as possible, so that you can get your marks in for the Tableau assignment, okay? Everything that we're going to cover today is going to be recorded and then also posted into the week 8 folder on Blackboard. So the recordings from today's class and all the information we'll put up there. And yeah, we're going to go through ArcGIS. We've got a guest lecturer who works at Esri, which is, well, she'll tell you all about it. We've got Jasmine Sohal, sorry. So put your hands together. Welcome, Jasmine, to Georgian.
Thank you.
Georgian, welcome. And yeah, take it away.
Perfect. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'll do a quick introduction of myself. So I'm a technical or team lead for technical solutions at Esri Canada. So basically what that means is that I showcase the art of the possible of what the technology can do to customers. So I work specifically just within our Ontario region, which is, as it sounds, the province of Ontario. So any customer that's within Ontario is who I deal with. So industry-wise, that could be from mining to health to education to municipal to public safety. So any kind of industry you see within Ontario, I've worked with a customer or two that's within that. So that means week to week, every day is different. Like yesterday, actually, and tomorrow I'll be at what's the biggest mining conference in the world, happens in downtown Toronto. It's called the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada. So every mining customer or mining industries all gathered in downtown Toronto today. So it's actually one of the biggest last conferences that happened in Toronto right before COVID. So it was that first week of March. And I remember I went to it and I was presenting there. There was about 25,000 people there. That's where the first case was reported, was someone, I forgot someone from where, but they flew in with this virus. And I remember I actually in the morning was presenting there, then I had to drive up to the University of Toronto to do another presentation there. And that's when the announcement came out that night that, hey, there was a case reported at the PDAC. Next morning, I get a call from our HR being like, do not leave. We know you were at that conference, so just stay at home. And then ever since, things have been kind of weird, I think. But that same year was when I actually first lectured for this class with a previous instructor, where we kind of talked about how to actually map viruses and public health related stuff. So yeah, this week I'm there. Later on in the week, I'm actually working with a public health unit on looking at mapping some health data. And then following later on in the week as well, I'll be working with the bank of how they're looking at some data analytics as well. So every week, every day is kind of different, but that's what keeps it fun. In terms of my history, so I've actually been in the company for almost 10 years. I started off with what's called our associate program, which next year, I think, because it's already closed now. So if you're interested, next year would be, if you're a new grad, you can apply for it. So it's actually a rotation program within the company where you can go ahead into different, sections of the company and departments. You learn about them and then you get a full-time job after. So started off there. Then I got a fun job at marketing. So I actually not just marketing the actual software, but actually using our software to do our own marketing. So looking at some business analytics, seeing where our customers are and understanding what we can do to kind of help increase our revenue and increase our customer engagement using our technology. That's what I was doing there. And then eventually I got into my job's considered part of sales, but it's more technical. So I don't have to worry about a number and selling software, but I do get to work with different customers and showcasing the technology there. So I'll give you a little rundown of the company as well. So what is Esri and then what we are at Esri Canada? So Esri is essentially the software company in Redlands, California that develops the ArcGIS system or the ArcGIS software. So they're the ones that create the GIS software that started out in the 80s. And so that's where it kind of stemmed from. Esri Canada is a Canadian-based, fully private company. And the difference with us is that we actually sell the rights to distribute and sell the ArcGIS platform from Esri Inc. in the States. So in terms of across Canada, so yeah, we're funded in 1984. We have around 600 employees across the country in 16 offices. So you can see the map here of all the different offices. We do have, we support a lot of R&D. About 30% goes back into universities and colleges to create our kind of centers of excellence, where we have kind of focused GIS programs, what we kind of contribute our technology to, so students learn with our skills, because in the real world, a lot, especially municipalities, they use our software, and I'll show you some examples of what Barrie does. Since we are in the city of Barrie. And so with that, we actually kind of help equip you with the right technology. So when you're out in the real world, you're already equipped with that software knowledge. And then in terms of users, we have over 12,000 different companies or organizations thus far in Canada that use our customers in our kind of company here. So that's kind of how we are separate. We are versus Esri Global. So we not only is there an Esri Canada, but there's like an Esri France, an Esri Germany. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Oops. I'm sorry, guys. 1 second. There we go. I clicked on it, but I didn't actually execute. There you go. So you should be able to see my screen now. Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, good.
All you missed was my mugshot, so it's not that bad. So here we are. So basically that's the main difference between us. So there is, an Esri pretty much in every country of the world, and it works the same way where they have their own selling rights to the Esri software from California. And so what we also offer at Esri Canada, so you can think of this as also career-wise, what you can do at the company. So beyond sales, we have technical support, which is awesome. That's actually where I started in the company as my first rotation. That's where I think you learn the most about the software. We have a customer care department, training. So not only do we have customers buy our technology, but we also do formalized training if they require it on the technology, and as well as we do consulting. So even though the software is available for everyone to use, in some cases, customers might not have time to actually build out the applications and the tools that they need. So they can hire us to do that work for them. And so actually, before we get into it, I just want to also mention a couple of things that we offer within the company as well. The first part is our kind of annual competition for students. So we have this, it's our Young Scholar for Canada competition. It's a poster program where you can submit a project about, using GIS. And then what that can also offer you is a trip or registration to the Education Summit at the user conference, the big Esri user conference that happens in San Diego every year, that has about 17 to 20,000 very GIS focused geogeeks, as we call them, coming to California to kind of showcase and see the technology. So we do have registration as you win for that. So just to showcase, here's some more information about it. I'll put it's already in the chat window for the team's call, but we can get that to you guys as well when I give over my presentation. And then within here as well, we do have, just to show you guys here, the teams thing. What you can see here is these are some of the different poster examples of past winners in here. So if you are interested, you can kind of see what people have done. So like automated wildfire risk assessments, someone did something, but I think there's like an AI competition or something that recently happened here. So here's something that someone did from University of Toronto of creating a generative design tool here of creating and designing complete communities within the city of Toronto. And then also Esri Inc. has a program or kind of a competition as well called the Student Assistantship Program. So this is actually something that I've done in the past. When I actually graduated, so education-wise, I went to McMaster and then actually went to Fleming College to do a GIS application specialist certificate. And so from there, one of my instructors told me about this, where if you are a graduating student, you don't have to be in a GIS program, but if you are a graduating student this year, and this will happen every year, you can actually apply to be part of this student assistantship program, which they provide you with your accommodations, your food and everything. You get to go down to San Diego and learn about the conference and everything there. So the key thing there is that not only are you going to the conference, but they set up key kind of essentially networking lunches and stuff for all the student assistantships to get together, see each other, and then also network with people within the Esri kind of community and company itself. So at the end of it, everyone was offered at least a job or so, or some type of opportunity from Esri Inc. I had one too, but I was actually already hired for the associate program, so I didn't have to take another job in that case. But it's really great. You get to meet a lot of people. You get access to everything within the conference, but you also do have to do a little bit of work. But my work was like I had to be in a commercial, so I had to act in a commercial for one of the for like the next year. So that was really hard. And then I also had to go around and take pictures of everyone for their Twitter account. So I wasn't allowed to tweet. They have specialized media people for that, but I just had to go around and take pictures of people having fun. I also had to go and work we have like an Esri store during the conference, so that's where you can buy merch. So one day I just had to be a cashier. So the jobs are not difficult and it's only for half the day, so you also have time to enjoy the conference, but it's kind of a great learning opportunity and honestly a really great networking opportunity as well, where you can meet people. So these are some of the things as a student you can apply to and have hopefully you can have access to doing as well. Also anyone in the chat too, or in the teams there, if you are within a distance. So actually it's not just if anyone's like not even in Canada, that's okay, because this associate program the assistantship program is not just for specifically Canadians or Americans. It's actually they choose people from around the world. So when I was in my cohort, there was 30 students that they chose from around the world. So we had people from Germany, from Beijing, we had people from India, we had people from Russia, Guatemala. So there's people from and I keep in touch with a lot of these people still, and they're all in their own prospective careers. One of my friends I still have to this date, she came from Colombia and she's actually working down in Antarctica right now. To do kind of GIS modeling of the ice scopes there as well. So the ice caps there. So there's really cool jobs and opportunities out there. Now we're going to go into that as well if you want to talk about it later on. But I thought maybe this is a good time to shift gears and talk about the technology itself. Before we get started, does everyone have access to a username and login already?
Should I haven't shown them how to access it yet?
Okay, we'll do that.
But yeah, I can show you quickly on the Blackboard.
Why don't I do the intro?
Okay.
And then we can go straight into showcasing that.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna have it in Blackboard? Okay.
I have a link posted just in their week 8 folder.
Okay.
So if they scroll down, see here, it's this big one. They click that.
So in your Blackboard week 8, you will notice that there's a link in there I'll show you how to get there as well. You're just gonna need to know your Georgian logins.
Yeah. I'll send it in the chat.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's get started let me just showcasing a little background information about the platform. And then we're gonna get into some fun because I'm not just gonna speak at you guys through PowerPoint. We're gonna actually use the software and learn through it as well. So let me just start from here. Okay. So talking about the platform itself, so I'm gonna kind of dissect this, what I call my cross section of my onion peel. Oh, I think I hear myself. Oh no, it's somebody else. Okay. So let's start from the bottom here. So what we have is we're gonna first start with our system of record. And I'm gonna talk about the platform also in 3 systems as well. This is again the main part here. This is essentially where we're creating our geographic twin of the real world into a digital space. So this could be, everything and anything is mapped from the underlying infrastructure that while we drive on the road. So all those pipes and everything are mapped out with, attribute information, including, for example, when it was installed, what type of material it was that was installed as well, because these are the key things that people need to know when there needs to be maintenance done. So when people are, when you see construction crews out there, opening up a road and trying to do some road construction work, there's a reason behind it. It's usually for maintenance or if there's an issue. And so, in order to make sure that you're, cutting into the right area of the road, right, they use a GIS to figure that out and see where they need to be on the road to do that construction work. Everything up to the light pole, the street lights, every tree that's managed by the municipality, the building footprints, everything gets mapped, whether that's someone going out with a phone or like an iPad to go and collect that information, or we're using drones to capture LiDAR or, drone imagery to get that information. So actually yesterday I did a session at the mining conference about how we can use flying over drones at mine sites to figure out and calculate how much sediment and stuff has been collected while they're doing that work as well. So that's what kind of some of the things that you can do to kind of create your first data record of the information that you want to either model, visualize, or, keep a record of. So then how you're accessing this. So, once you have all that data, you don't want to keep it to yourself. You need to share that information out to people, usually within your organization or other people that need to have access to that information. So you might have like a home page. So for example, we're going to go into the Georgian College's ArcGIS Online account to kind of access that information. And then how do you access it? So we have, depending on who you are, will also determine how you're actually going to use the software. So in this case here, I like to kind of switch, put them between the viewers and the doers. So the doers are like our creators and our field workers and our editors, where they're able to actually create content, publish content, and share that information. The viewers are essentially that's all they can do. They can just view the content that's available to them in the platform. So a lot of times if we're thinking about the real world, we have like the GIS analyst or some type of analyst or data scientist that's actually doing the work. But then, for example, they don't want their boss to break anything, so they give them a viewer account. So that way, all they can do is just view the content that is being shared to them. And so all that, so, this just kind of shows that you have an identity in order for you to access that software. So your login is your ArcGIS identity. So not only does that allow you to be able to, go into the software and create content and do your analysis, but that identity also allows you to participate in other parts of the Esri platform as well. So we have like free training courses and videos that you just use your same identity to log into, and we'll show you where all that is. You can use that same identity to also look at what we have is called the Geo community or the Esri community. It's kind of like our internal Reddit. So, which you also have access to as well with your identity. So that means that if you have questions, or for example, a lot of our product managers, when they're thinking about ideas of how to implement more functionality, they just write into that Reddit form that we have, Reddit-like form that we have, where they can just say, what are you looking for? What's missing? And then people can submit those ideas. We actually also have an ideas section where, as much as we are trying to figure out what our customers want, the easiest way to figure out what they want is for them to tell us what they need. And so in that case, we actually have an ideas page where people can just go ahead and submit in what ideas that they have. And then you'll see like from a status if something's, open for consideration or if it's been implemented. And basically how it gets implemented is by a vote system. So as many people upvote an idea, that gets all implemented in. We do about 200 ideas throughout the whole platform every year, just based off of user ideas. So that's how we kind of bring the R&D back. I think it's about 30% of our revenue goes straight back into R&D to bring, put back into for the system for our people, our users. So that's where we kind of have this collaboration mindset of, being able to share information, our maps, our data, and collaborate together. So that way, one thing that we're trying to do is limit data silos. You won't believe how many times in the real world you might be working with a customer that, for example, I worked with one when we're trying to use like their AutoCAD data to create kind of a building footprint. And it was more for, I created like this tool for when we were all coming back from COVID, where what we were able to do was when some people were coming in, some people weren't. So they wanted to have a way to create an app that people could check in and check out a workspace. So that included that we had to have an AutoCAD file to see the building footprints and stuff. And what we noticed was, so they thought that they didn't have it. So we used PDF drawings that we had to redraw into the GIS. And then turns out a couple months later that someone in the facilities department had the AutoCAD files. So we could eliminate all that work if we just all collaborated together in the first place. So in terms of the platform of how, now that we've now collected our data, we've shared it out, how do we ingest that information? So a couple of ways that we can do that. First way is our desktop software. That's kind of our big engine software called ArcGIS Pro that you do have access to, that we're not going to use today, but you do have access to it. We also have easy to use apps that you can use on the browser. So these are, now that you've created your map of your data, you can create kind of basically wrappers around it or templates to create an application around it. So these applications are device agnostic as well. So they have the written base code in the back end that no matter what size screen you're using, it's able to kind of rework itself for that screen size resolution. And all this can be accessed through the browser. So we are going to work with one today. And the last kind of types of apps that we have are what we call our mobile apps. So these are apps that you can download from the App Store, from the Play Store, directly onto your device and start to use. A lot of these tools are more for data management and data collection, which actually we're going to get into today as well. And so these are actually helping. So the reason why they're also a native app is because a lot of times people don't always have access to the internet. So they still need to be able to do their work. So they can do that through the native apps, do the work that they need to do. And then when they back have Wi-Fi or signal again, whether that's back in the office or wherever they may be, they can sync those edits and that work back up to the cloud when they need it. So how do you actually leverage and, deploy our platform? So we do have the desktop, which is kind of where we do a lot of our heavy analysis, data collection, whatever we need to do. And then we have what we call our web portals of how we can actually now share and disseminate this information out. So there's two flavors of it. ArcGIS Enterprise is the heavy duty, very IT centric way of hosting your own web GIS portal. So usually it's an IT department that will go ahead and deploy servers, and you have to manage those servers for you to kind of have that information up on the cloud, or however way you deploy your kind of behind your own firewall for your services. ArcGIS Online is what we're going to use today. That's our cloud-based software as a service offering. It's on actually a blend, if you guys care, it's on a blend of Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. So we have a blend of, so that way, it's elastic. It can hold as many people as we need to. Like we talked actually in the last lecture that I did before, when it was during COVID time, there was someone from Johns Hopkins University that created a dashboard of all the COVID cases by country. It hit a couple billion views and nothing affected the cloud platform at all because of how elastic it is. So, and that's just kind of like, just quickly go over that the desktop solution is another piece of our software that you can install onto your laptops for you to do kind of more heavy duty analysis if you need to. We're not going to get into that today, but that is something that you do also have access to. So now I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit about talking about the platform and the way that how we kind of start to use GIS. And I want to talk about GIS as being more what's known as just maps, right, and data. It's a way for us to, again, as I'm saying, like collaborate on information. The reason why I keep honing on a collaboration is because we're going to work together today to kind of work on a project together. And so I'm just going to skip through. So we're going to talk about our GIS in 3 different systems here. We're going to talk about it as a system of record, a system of insight, and a system of engagement. So that means we're going to measure some information, we're going to explore that data, and then we're going to communicate that information out as well. It looks like someone might not be muted on the virtual class. Okay, thank you. So let's first start off with system of record. So that's about us managing information. So this is kind of what I kind of touched upon in the past as well quickly is so we have workflows for you to start managing the information that you have. And that could be online or offline. And we also have editing tools. So it's not just collecting information. It could just be updating the information that you already existingly have. And so a lot of the ways that this is done is through capturing from our field operations, kind of those native apps that we have. A lot of times, whether that's for updating or creating new information. So with that, you can do location tracking if you wanted to. You can navigate from one place to another. You can capture that information. And what we also have is an app called Workforce. So if you want to go ahead and, create assignments and dispatch that information out to people, this is kind of a way that we can do that. So 2 examples. So for example, in Prince Edward Island now, not a big island, but because we have about almost 5,600 kilometers squared of area. So one thing that was done or just by 2 students on their own is they just literally drove around and collected every single street sign within the island. So that way the island now has an actual digital asset of every single mobile kind of street sign around in the island. So that way now, if anything needs to be done, whether that's maintenance or, there's an issue, or for example, that, now that, where each and every one is, maybe they, for example, have a change in speed limits, right? So now they can actually filter their data and see where those speed limit signs are, and they go ahead and replace them rather than having to drive around and find every single one. Now that we have a digital copy where everything is, it helps us now be able to, be more efficient with our work. Another way, so the County of Lennox and Addington, so they really revolutionized how they use and how they kind of do their building maintenance process. So they have a lot of buildings that they manage as like city housing. And the issue was that, so when there's maintenance being done, it was all done on paper. And by paper, I mean like this. So they just had, for example, when a maintenance guy would come in, they would leave a note, let's just say, oven needs to be fixed, slapped it on the stove and walked away. And they had no idea when that was actually a service request. So what they've been able to do is actually transform it into a form. So now they're able to capture all the maintenance requests, all the issues that are happening within the buildings, and then be able to essentially from here, go ahead and revolutionize their work and make themselves more efficient. So now there's a digital copy. They're able to see that information. Also, for example, if someone just wrote some notes, let's say in a paper form, I feel bad for whoever has to transcribe it because no one really writes on paper these days anymore. So having to write that out, then having someone else have to now take that piece of paper, transcribe it onto a digital asset or a digital copy, that takes a lot of work to get to by the time it's, in a digital record. Why not skip all of that middle steps and just have an online form that does that for you? So we're going to actually get into those online forms. So before we do, I'll have Ben go ahead and make sure that you guys have access to software. So everyone on your browsers, just how you're going to get to the software itself. Let me just close these. We have one already here. So what you're going to do to get here is you're just going to go to ArcGIS.com. So ARCGIS.com. This is going to be the easiest way to get there. You're going to go into sign in, whether that's sign in at the top right-hand side or this big purple sign in button. When you click there, you're going to, instead of going into a login, you're going to click on your ArcGIS organization URL. Okay? And you're going to put in here in one word, Georgian College. Another way, so just through that week 8 on Blackboard, you'll see that link there as well for the georgiancollege.maps to arcgis.com. Same way, so we're just going to go into organization URL from arcgis.com. You'll go ahead and click on continue. And then when you click on continue, you're going to see this blue box that says College of Applied Arts and Technology. You'll click into that, and then that's what's going to bring you into your Georgian College Microsoft login. So go ahead and do that. You might have to authenticate and stuff like that. Eventually, when you get through to this page, you'll be into this page here. So again, I'll work through that in case anyone missed a step, is going into a browser, arcgis.com. We're going to sign in. We're going to go into, you'll see the option here of either login or organization URL. You'll click on the organization URL. Georgian College is what you're going to write as one word. we'll click on continue, click on that big blue button, and then go ahead and start authenticating yourselves through. And then maybe on the online virtual class, just give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Yeah.
Okay, everyone in here is good.
I'll give another 2 minutes for the online course or the online students there. Or actually, because the thumbs up goes away, raise your hand on the online course when you're ready, because that way I'll see your hands raised. So the page for the online course that we're looking for is this green page here that says Georgian College. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're just waiting for 5 more people to get there, or someone's on hold. So, okay. Okay. Okay, so I will. 2, 3.
Is anyone online having trouble? Everyone here is good, right? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Awesome. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually just go through the demo together right now, but you guys can follow along if you wish. And we're gonna make this a little interactive as we can. So what we're gonna be working on today is gonna be what I call my system of potholes. Very fun topic. So what we're gonna work on is we're gonna start building out. Let me show you guys here. Potholes, yes. What did you hear? Okay, so this is what we're gonna build at the end of this today. So I have here my system of potholes. And so what we're gonna work on is how we can create a pothole study, going from collecting our pothole information, visualizing that information, and then sharing that out. So we won't probably be able to get through to everything here today, but this is just to show you that we're gonna take our pothole information and we're gonna transform it eventually into a way for us to visualize that information as well. So we're going to start and we're going to continue on. So we're going to start with our system of record first, which is going to be Survey 123 is what we're going to use. So we have a couple of different apps that you can use. So there's field maps that you could use as a map-based way of collecting information. So when you have your device, whether that's a phone or an iPad, you can go out to the field and you click on field maps. You're able to then see a map-based way of collecting information. So you'll be able to click on a map, see your data, visualize it, or also click on it and edit that data as well. Survey 123 is a little bit different where you're still collecting and you can still update information, but we're using a form-based way to do it. So that's what we're going to work on today. So in case that you ever have a way that you want to be able to collect information and visualize it, the easiest way to do that is through Survey 123. So we're using it today to collect pothole information, but I use it a lot for people to create like a registration form for people to, when we're registering for an event, or for example, the city of Waterloo used it during COVID. I keep talking about COVID because that's the last time I was here, but they use it for people to sign up for vaccine registrations. Actually, this past weekend, I was hosting my cousin's 40th birthday. We did an Oscars theme because she's a movie buff. And so one of the things I did was I actually create a Survey 123 game. Well, they didn't know it was Survey 123 because otherwise they're gonna be like, I keep plugging my software everywhere I go. But I created a trivia game through Survey 123 for people to be able to submit in. We had like movie trivia, and then at the end we had a dashboard we'll go into as well to see the leaderboard of who won the trivia game. So you can use it for basically anything. Because again, all we're doing is we're just using a form to collect information. But the key thing that keeps Survey 123 different than the other form-based way of collecting data is that you can embed a map. So you can actually add in where you're collecting the information from. So we're going to be collecting potholes. And so to get to there, so you'll see at the very top of the app launcher, that's this little waffle icon up here. Your Survey 123 might be somewhere different, but we're looking for this Survey 123 app here. So if you want to follow along, go ahead. I'm going to go through it here as well. So right now we have no surveys. I'm going to create a survey for the class to create. We're going to actually collect some information here as well, because we're going to use now our class data through the different systems of ArcGIS that we're going to go through. So if you guys want to sit back and relax, as you can also refer to this recording, that's cool. And let's start creating a pothole inventory form. So when I click on new survey, what kind of survey do I want to use? I'm going to start off as a blank survey, because let's just check the templates if they have anything to do with potholes. Oh, it looks like they already have one. So we could use that, or we could create our own, but let's work smarter and not harder. And so let's go ahead and look at this report a pothole kind of form. So I can start to see here, this one's already built up, which I think might be good for us to use. So I'm going to go ahead and click on use this template. And I'll also show you, in case if you want to look from blank, we'll go into that as well. But let's show you this template. Once it's loaded, so what this is going to do, it's actually going to create a form for me. And so we can see this now, report a pothole form. So I'm going to just put in here for the city of BDAT1006, right? Okay. So from here, so let's have some, we don't really need contact information, I feel like, because we're just working here as a class. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and delete this group of questions. Instead, I'm going to drag and drop in a question of, let's just call it the reporter name. Okay, so we can now be able to we can put in our names of what we're going to collect this information. What we can put in here is maybe like a hint, like your full name. And if you want, you can also calculate this information as well, because we're all signed in. You can actually do a calculation if we wish, where we can take, extract from information from another point of the form, or we can take it from the survey. And for example, I can already list out the user's full name. So that I can already add and put into this calculation. So as I'm putting it in, the form's going to already input that information for me. Especially municipalities, they love this kind of stuff because it eliminates spelling errors or mistakes when people are inputting in information. So making it as easy as possible for the person and taking the information is ideal. So what you can start to see here, so in this case here, they're asking what lane is the pothole in? So this is now, I guess, of course, in like a road perspective. So right lane, left lane, second from the right, third from the right. Let's just keep it simple and let's just do 2. So I'm going to subtract those out. So the options here for my drop down is going to be left lane or right lane. So these are the types of questions that we have in here. So you can see that there's text, number, date, and time questions. So maybe one thing that I want to add in here could be like the date and time of when we're collecting this information. So again, we're just clicking, dragging, and dropping that in. So I'm just going to say collection date time. And someone could go ahead and put this information in, or again, we're working smarter, not harder. We're going to click on submitting date and time here instead. So we can do that from here. So then, or, we can also make this a required question. So making sure that no one skips out on that question. We can do that. And maybe also what lane this is in. We can also go ahead and make that a required question as well. Going through this here. So what we can also do is you can see, we'll start to go ahead and add more information, but let's go through this form here. So name of the road where pothole is observed. Sure. When we're going to be going out, we're actually going to go out into the field today too. So we're going to have you guys, you can put in whatever road name that you want. The pothole location. So we've added in a map here, but this map we're not looking at just in the world. So we're going to actually specifically go into Georgian College. And that's going to find us in Barrie. So we're actually closer now to where we need to be, which is great. I can also change this base map that we're using here as well. So if I go into edit, I can choose, for example, like the topographic base map. I can choose an imagery base map that has labels on it. Maybe that's better. So now we can actually use like a satellite view of looking at where we are on the map. We can add in, if you want people to be able to, add in the default location, We want to center the map to where they are. Maybe we want people to be able to ask, look for where they are. So, it'll already take out the information coming from your phone. So we can ask you for your location. Or, you can do it when you ask, from the survey itself. We'll just keep it to here. So you don't need to access your location settings on your phone. So we'll just keep that to this. And again, I'll make that required question because we need to map where those potholes are. But as we go through this, maybe there's some other information we want to add in. Maybe we want to add in, for example, let's do a single selective. Let's try to identify how big this pothole is, because in most cases, the bigger the size of the pothole is also going to determine how quickly we're going to go out for maintenance. So if it's a massive pothole, that's going to be prioritized over a smaller pothole for the city or for anyone looking to repair these potholes. So let's go ahead and just put in a single select question, and I'm just going to put it right before which pothole lane this is in, and we'll just call it here the size of the pothole. And so we can, let's just say, do we want to do it as words or do we want to do it as numbers? Let me know. Do we want to say just big, medium, small, or should we make it into a size of, let's say, small? We can also, we can do a mix. So maybe we give a criteria here that small is, anything less than 30 centimeters or 50 centimeters. Medium is a meter, and maybe anything large is bigger than a meter. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna I can go in here and change these selections. So I can say, small, medium, or big this way, or we can also click on the batch edit, which lets us do it all at once. So small, medium, large. And then what we'll do is I'm just gonna make this so you'll see any options for that specific type of questions as we click into it. So I'll make it small and horizontal so it fits nicely. But let's add in some criteria into the hint. So let's just say small is going to be, less than 50 centimeters. Medium, we will do, actually, let's do it this way. So small is less than, medium is greater than 50 centimeters. But we'll make large be, greater than 1 meter. Okay. Oops, 1 meter. So we'll do this. Yep. Less than 1 meter. Does this make sense? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We'll do this less than 50 centimeters or greater than 50 centimeters or less than 1 meter. There we go. And then large, we'll keep that as. So we can also, make this bold. I'm just using my keyboard shortcuts, but you can also click on here as well to format this text if we want to a little bit. And one last thing that I wanted, so if you're looking at these questions here, maybe some other things that we might want to add in could be a picture, right? So we want to actually showcase what this looks like as well. So we're going to go ahead and add in an image question at the very bottom here. So, and I can also say here now, image of pothole. We can add a hint here if we want to. So now 2 things that we can do from here for more options. I can either make it that you can browse for a pothole in your phone gallery, or, I can force you to take a picture so it only opens up your camera. So we'll just keep it as this, and I'll make that a required question as well. And I can also specify how many pictures you have to take, and I'll just do a minimum of 1, but I'll do a maximum of 3. So don't take any more than that. And then I'll just go ahead and save this. So this form is looking pretty good. We have a bunch of information here. So once you're kind of happy with our form, you can go ahead and add in more questions that make sense. We can kind of group this information as well. So maybe we group some data in here. So if we want to kind of basically be able to organize our form a little bit better, we can do it into multiple pages. Actually, fun fact, the US Census uses Survey 123 to collect all the census information. So they use this page setting here to create multiple pages for them to go ahead and collect all the census information that we have. So in terms of the label here for the group, we'll just call this here reporting details. And I'm gonna just drag in some of this extra information that we have that don't have to deal with the pothole. And I'll just go ahead and add another group here for all of our pothole related information. So I'll create another group here and I'll just call here, pothole data. And then let's just go ahead and put in that pothole information here. And maybe what I'll do is just exactly in this, what lane is it in? Maybe I'll just go ahead and add in not applicable. Because in case we are, working in a parking lot or something like that. So that means that we can have another question in here. Let's just say, where is it then? So that means I can add in some logic. So what I can do from here is I can set a rule that if this is equal to, so let me go into here, where is it? So in here, so if does it let me do it from this one? Which pothole is it in? Oh, never mind. Sorry, wrong place. This question. So I can set a rule that if, what lane is this pothole in? If it's equal to not applicable, then this question will show up. So you can add in logic here and there if you require to as well. So for example, if let's just say that we're collecting assets. So you might ask, is it a light pole, a street pole, sorry, a tree, a street pole, light, or a fire hydrant, right? So those three different assets have three different types of information or attributes we need to collect. So we can basically create questions that only pertain to that specific asset. So that's how we can add in that logic. So in this case here, if it's not on a road, right, then we can ask them after, if they choose not applicable, then where is it? Then they can go ahead and type that information in here. So I think I'm happy with the way this survey is. I'm going to go ahead and save this and I'm going to go ahead and publish this. So when we are publishing surveys, what that's going to do now is like in our content page, it's going to create a folder. It's going to house this form in, and it's collecting it's creating a data set for us. So the data set's going to be empty. And so what's going to happen is all these questions end up, if we pretend that we're looking at like an Excel spreadsheet, each of these questions is now going to be a column name for all the attribute information being collected. And then as we start to collect in more and more information, that's now going to be rows in that column or data table here. So we'll just give it a second here to publish. Once this is published, I'm going to show you how we can share this form out. So in some cases, you might want to make the form public, but you might want to make your data private, right? So if you're working on a project or you're thinking the real world, right, the data that you're collecting might not be, available for the public or for other people in your organization. So we can keep that private, but I'm going to make the data actually to the org so everyone in the class can access that data set as well. So that's kind of in the sharing levels, which we'll get to in a second. So that published successfully. So just to show you in the collaborate tab, I'm going to share my survey to members of the organization. So that means anyone within Georgian College, kind of our ArcGIS Online account, will have access to this survey, which we're going to need because we're all going to use this survey in a second. Actually, I'm going to make the survey public for now, just because we're all going to access it, and I don't need you guys to spend some time logging into it from your phone because we have it locked to the org. That means you're going to have to go through all the authentication all over again on your phone. So we're just going to leave that. I'm just going to make the form public, but we're going to make our precious pothole data private to our org. So we're going to come back to that as well. So let me just save that here. And just some other options that you can start to see, or you can actually set up how your form is going to, when and how long you want your form to be set on for. So you can have it, for example, open now. We can set up a field season here as well for how long or short we want to keep this to. So now that's done, the share results, I'm actually going to share to our org, or sorry, yeah, to the Georgian College group here. And what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go outside and we're going to collect some potholes. So the weather is too nice for us to be cooped into the classroom for 3 hours. People online as well, if you are okay to go outside, I'm going to go ahead and share out the URL of this link into our, oh, actually I can't. Benjamin, I might need you to do it in a second. But actually, if anyone's actually even at home, I'm just going to put up this QR. So you can actually have a QR code as well. I'm just going to put this into, let's say, let's do it into a Word. And everyone's going to copy out this QR code. So actually everyone that's virtually logged into, just go ahead and copy this QR code because we're going to go outside. So everyone grab your phones, scan the QR code. So you should be able to see that form on your phones.
I put the link in the chat for the teams as well as the QR code. So it's also.
Perfect. So whichever way you want, this is gonna be a great way for us to go into it. So unfortunately, this will not open up a restaurant menu, but we are gonna open up a form here. So everyone have a form on their phone? Yes? Okay, awesome. So what we're gonna do is actually, let me showcase you guys as well quickly on my device. And then we're gonna go outside. So I'll do a quick demo of how we're gonna do this. And then we will go outside and we're gonna go ahead and collect some imaginary potholes. And so let me just go ahead and join here. Okay, so for anyone that wants to know how to do this, so I'm joined here. So let me just share my screen. You guys should see my, oh, okay. Everyone online can see my phone?
Yep.
Okay. Actually, I should be able to do it. There we go. Okay, you guys can see my phone now too. This is my other phone. I'm using a Samsung device for this, but this could be an iPhone. This could be an iPad. Either way, so actually, I'm going to go ahead and scan the QR code too. Let me just do that quickly. Where'd it go? Okay. So how we're going to collect this information. So because we have our phone, all right, let me share this here. So we see our form here. So that same information that we just had on a laptop, we can see that here on a phone as well. So here we can see now our reporting details. We'll see a red star beside anything that is required. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a test one here. So because now I'm not signed in, where we have a public form, that's why I didn't calculate my username, right? Because we're not signed in. If we were signed in, it'll collect our username for us because we did that calculation. So I'll go ahead and put in my name. And so what I can do is I can now, toggle that off. Let me go back here, sorry. And just, collapse that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pretend that we have a pothole here in the classroom. We'll just pretend this here is a pothole. So I'm gonna say that's about less than 50 centimeters. So I'll say small. What lane is it in? In this case, I'm gonna say it's not applicable. And so where is it then? So I'm gonna say it's in the classroom. Name of the road, I'll just say Georgian College Road. Where is it? So when I click into the pothole location, so in this case, because I'm not having it ask for my location, you'll see like a little circle with the crosshairs. If I click on that, that will bring me to my live location if I want to. But I can also use the crosshairs and decide to where I want to put it, but we'll do it to here in the classroom. So I just got to click on that blue button on the bottom right-hand side to collect that point. Now at the very top, I'll click OK. So now it's going to put in my point. I'll put in a picture of it, of the pothole as well. So perfect, we can go into selfie mode here. So I'll go ahead and take a picture of my pothole. I'll click OK. I've got my shoe in there too. And now I'll go ahead and submit. Okay. That's going to now submit, and we're going to get a copy of that data back onto our cloud, but we'll go into that data after. So now that you guys know how to collect this, please go outside. I'll have you guys come back in by 10 minutes.
Yeah, we'll be about 10 minutes. Feel free to roam around, get some fresh air.
Yeah.
Use the form. If you actually can find a pothole, that'd be awesome. So just like anywhere in this parking lot over here. And then, yeah, 10 minutes, try to come back here, and then we'll have a bunch of data. But,
Okay.
You might need about 20, 30.
Any questions, guys, before we split up and go out? We're good? Everyone can get on their phone? Okay, go find some potholes.
Okay, I'll go with them.
Yeah, go for
Okay.
it.
Yes, everyone in the online classroom, please go outside as well if you can, or collect one near you, because then we can at least then get a good geographical context to where all the data is coming from. Okay, I guess you're seeing.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can. Yeah. I wanted to turn my camera on and follow around and like
Yeah.
get it on the Teams meeting, but that's great. Oh, how are they doing?
They're excited.
That's awesome.
It's so good.
No, you're killing it. This
Oh,
that's great.
thanks.
You're doing awesome. I think it's good for them too, because they get like this mix up of inside the classroom and
Yeah.
yeah.
It's too warm outside to not be outside.
Oh, totally.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna run to the washroom while they're out.
for sure. Yeah. I might go join them.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
I'm on my phone on the camera here. Did we find a pothole, everyone? On the land over here? Did we document it? Okay, there's this one. Did you guys get this one?
We got that one.
You guys got this already?
We got this.
Oh, here. Okay. So these are some of the potholes we're documenting. I'm on my phone camera here. So this is like, we're out and about in Microsoft Teams meeting. But yes, we've got another one here. So it worked some on the road over there.
Are you staying here?
Yeah, I am.
Because come on now.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem. Anyone in the virtual class, if you are back from collecting your point or your pothole, please put your hands up. Welcome back. Yeah, I think so. Was that fun? Okay, good, perfect. Can you check if, are you guys on the virtual class too or no? You are? Is there anyone that's asking anything in the chat window? Okay, awesome. Great.
I got a picture of you too.
Sorry?
I got a picture of you.
Awesome.
It's small stuff. As much data as we can. Exposed. Okay. Oh, I did.
Okay, there.
This one.
So in the virtual class, if anyone has come back from finishing collecting their potholes, please raise your hands. I know some already have. Wow, look at all those potholes. Nice. Is there anyone joining internationally?
I don't think so.
Okay, perfect.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe surprised.
Well, you could have just put it on your map too, right? You could have put it to a different area. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, there we go.
Someone's in the water. Awesome.
Oh, no. Hopefully not.
That's a big pothole that they're in.
Yeah. Someone is. Oh, yeah, they're actually in the lake. Larger than 1 meter, so.
Mhm. Awesome. Okay, looks like everyone's pretty much back. I know they went to go grab a laptop.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think
Think we're good? Okay. Okay. I didn't realize the lake is shaped like a heart.
yeah.
That's so
it
cute.
is cool. But it's not even called Heart Lake, it's Little Lake.
There's a heart lake in Brampton.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's
heart
it.
lake. Yeah, it's heart. Yeah, shaped like a heart too.
Huh.
Okay, there's someone out here. Awesome. Okay, so I think should we continue on?
Yeah.
Okay. So once you're actually, so we were here. So I think everyone in the class too. Let me just go ahead and can I clear these or anyway, everyone just put your hands down. I think we're gonna go ahead and
I can-
continue.
yeah.
Oh, you can do it? Okay, perfect. Okay. Yep. Okay, I am back. Okay, so now that we've collected our data, couple of things from here to do. So if we go into the Analyze tab of Survey 123, we can actually start to see some analytics of how our data is being collected. So which brings us into our next topic, which is going to be about the system of insight. Okay, so the system of insight. So now that we went out, we've collected our data, we have a bunch of potholes. What are we going to do with that? So the system of insight now is a section of where we kind of talk about, exploring that spatial analysis of the information that we have. So in order for us to do that, there's many, many tools available throughout the platform. A lot of that heavy duty analysis is what you're probably going to use a desktop device for. So in this case, we're not doing like a big analysis here, but we could, like, maybe what we want to do is after, for example, so one thing the City of Toronto does actually is, let me go ahead into that news article as well. So City of Toronto does something called the Pothole Blitz. Okay, this is actually a real thing. So after basically winter is done, spring's about to begin. So as materials are contracting and expanding on the road, it usually leads to potholes. So with that, this is actually a real world example. This happens every year for the City of Toronto. They shut down a bunch of their roads that are high propensity to potholes. And how they figure that out is by collecting data over time. So by mapping that out, they know which roads within the city have a high propensity to potholes. And that's what they do. They close down a bunch of roads and they just go through what they call their blitz, which means that they just drive around and just, marking where they are with the software and then going ahead and filling those potholes in. So someone's going around and marking where all these potholes are, and then people are following behind to like figure out, where they're going to go ahead and fill those in. So this is from as of where was it? I think as of February 3rd, the city repaired 9,900 potholes, which I don't know if that's something to be celebrated or something to be a concern of, but they have about 9,900 potholes. And since the beginning of the year, more than 50,000 have been repaired, which exceeds the amount done over the last 4 years. So that's quite a lot. Now, so keep that in mind. So, they have mobile apps and stuff for people to submit their own potholes. So a lot of municipalities will actually have an online form for people to go ahead and do it, just like how we just did today. And other times they might have a crew to go ahead and do it. So that's like a real world example of how we're using this. So after you have a bunch of information all at once, you can now go ahead and do an analysis. So maybe we take our road network data that also has the material type, when the road was first paved, the last time there was maintenance on it. We can now overlay over some pothole information to maybe see also, are we targeting the areas that need to be targeted, or are we kind of missing the point of where we need to be, right? So that's where kind of the spatial analysis point comes in. So a lot of times how we do a first quick look at spatial analysis is usually through dashboards. So dashboards are an app that we can use to kind of quickly visualize all those kind of KPIs and information as it's being collected. So that's going to go into our next demo here. So if you want to follow along, you can. If you want, you could just take it all in for now. Sorry for the really messy desktop there, but we're just going to go through it. If you want to, again, follow along in the recording after the fact, go ahead and do so. But essentially, now that we've collected our data, so now this is me coming in as the author of the survey. Now we're going to make the data available for you guys as well, so you can go ahead and access if you want to follow along. But essentially here, so I can start to analyze, for example, here, Kumar did 2 kind of submissions. That's why his word cloud, his name is the biggest. So there's word clouds that come in here. I could just go ahead and show the responses this way. I can start to see the size of the potholes. So most people submitted small potholes compared to medium or large, right? What pothole lane is this in? So not applicable. Some did in the right, some did in the left lane. Where exactly is it then? So they have a word cloud here as well. So we can start to get some analysis about our data. We can also click into the data tab to now get a further look into the data set itself. So we can see the spatial context of where our potholes are. I can also look at my data table here. So if I want to filter to maybe only see, all the medium-sized potholes, I can do a filter here. Size is medium and apply that. So now it's only going to give me those records of only the medium-sized potholes. I can click on any of these. I can view the information about it. I can see where it is, and I can also click on the pictures and see exactly where those pictures are well. So there's one pothole there, and there's another one here as well. So that's awesome that we got a real bigger street area here. Great. So that's kind of where we can now take this data. Now, if you're working, let me just go ahead and kill this here so we have all the data. So if we're working on this in the real world and we have some data that we have from survey 123, I could go ahead and export this. If let's say my colleague that doesn't have access to GIS needs to see this information, I can export this out here. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a dashboard so we can now start to see this information in real time. And then that way now, if we want to start adding more data after this class, we can refer back to this dashboard. So I'm going to go out of survey 123 here. We're going back to our first page of ArcGIS Online. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make this data set available for you guys. So under my content tab, I'll see here that if you create a survey, you'll see a form you'll see here the form and the data set information here as well. So this is under the My Content tab. This is where you're managing all your information. So this could be the data that you created through maps or apps. You can also click on New Item if you have, let's say, like your own data sets that you want to bring in. You can add them in from here as well. But we're going to work through this one here. So what you'll see here is the item type is here. The name is on the left. And you can start to see here how the information is being shared. So for example, that my actual hosted data set layer, the main one, is not shared to anyone. It's just to the owner. My form or my data set for the results of the information, I made that available to my organization. So anyone with their account within Georgian College can see that data. And what I can also see here is that the form in a data set view of just some of the information is made publicly. So people can actually write into the form and collect it. So if I want to, I can make this again. If I go into the Collaborate tab, I could just make this survey now not public. And then that way, anyone that now it's closed off to anyone within the org to only be able to access it. So should we make it unpublic now? Sure. Okay, so I'll go ahead and save that. And you'll see once this is done here, this is all because it's all on the web. This is all gonna be done instantaneously. So once that saves here, if I refresh this, you'll see now that it's shared back to the organization. So it's no longer available publicly. So that means that if you're trying to access that same barcode again, or that link, you're gonna be forced to sign in because we stopped making that form publicly available. So from here, what we're gonna do, we're gonna work on just our feature layer here. So I'm actually gonna take the full feature set and I'm gonna share it to the org as well. So just click on share. So now the whole class can have access to the full data set. And so for everyone else to access this, I'm just gonna give you guys a quick way is if you just search, actually, yes, share to the org. So anyone coming in as a non-student, so if you're not Benjamin, so if we're, let's see on the content tab, you might see that there's nothing here on your side. If you click into my organization, and then you just start to search for pothole, you will find the report a pothole data set. And so what you want to find is this full one called the feature that has just feature layer, not a hosted view. What hosted view means is that they just create a view of that data set that doesn't have all the information in it. So we're just going to go for the full one so that has no brackets beside it. And that's how you can go ahead and you can use that information. If you want, you can add it to your favorites. So for example, if you look at my favorites now, you'll see access to the data here. Now, because it's my own data set, I won't be able to favorite my own data. So you can do that if you want. So then you'll see that data set here in your favorites. Now that we have our data set here, so I'm back into the content page. When you click into it, you'll see the sidebar show up with some information about it. I can directly go ahead and open this up in the map viewer, but what I'm just going to do for now is click on the view details. And now that will bring me into, 1 second here, give it a sec. And this will bring me to a details page. So this will be for anyone that's accessing this data set. They'll be able to see some detailed information. So there's not a lot of information here. So we can start to spice this up a little bit. So anyone that's accessing this information that's not in this class understands what this information is about. So we can see here, this data is for demonstration purposes for pothole data collection. Now, if this was the real world, right, we might want to put in a description of like, licensing about this one, like, do not use it for analysis. It's just for, internal use only, whatever you want to say about it. Maybe the last time this data was updated, that might be helpful. We can go ahead and edit this thumbnail here as well. So I can create one from the map if I wanted to, or I can go ahead and upload a picture. So that's just let's go ahead and go near the map here. So we'll just go ahead and do this. And it's going to create a picture here of what the data set looks like for us. But if you want to create your own icons and stuff like that, you could do that too. We can add in terms of use here. A couple of things that we can also start to do is, so for example, under the visualization. So if you want to set, so by default, if you bring in this data set, it's always just going to have these red dots, which is great. But what we could also do is we could kind of change this to a default symbolization. So that way, each time you're bringing it in, if you need to do it by a specific value or an attribute that we've collected, we can do it from here as well. So I'm just going to showcase that you can do it here, but we're going to go into the map to actually do it. But it's the same workflow because it's the same map viewer. So now let's go ahead and open this data up into the map viewer so we can actually see all that information that we've collected. So I'm going to zoom back in. So now we're going to visualize and start creating some information from here. So here's all of our data. So I'm going to zoom into the point where we can see all of our information. Couple of things here about the map viewer. So the left-hand side here is everything to do with the map interface itself. Anything on the right-hand side is anything to do about that data set that we have on. So if we have multiple data sets, you have to click on them. You'll see this blue line beside. That means that's the active data set that allows us to see the tools here. So if I click off of that, it's no longer active. And you can see all these options here now checked off, right? So they're grayed out, so I can't access it. So I got to turn it on in order for me to see this. Let's go ahead and add in some more data into here so we can, make this map a little bit nicer. Then we'll go into the symbolization. So when you click on the add data, you'll see here that I can add in my own content. But a couple of other things that you can start to do. For example, we can look for data in the Living Atlas. So the Living Atlas is a curated repository of authoritative data, which means that Esri spends some time looking for curated information, or sometimes users will submit in their data to be part of the Living Atlas. You can also go to the Living Atlas. If I go back to the main page, from this waffle icon where you have access to all your apps, there is a Living Atlas in here as well that you can go ahead and browse what's available. So we can browse through it here or back in the map as well. If I go into Living Atlas, you'll see a smaller browser here. So just to kind of show you, I'm just going to the bigger site here so you can see what's available. So, you have like, weather information, satellite information in here, terrain data. We're going to use this World Traffic Service, which is coming from here, formerly known as Navtech. They are the GPS company within German vehicles. So they have satellites all over the globe that's updating this layer every 5 minutes. And this also includes any kind of road impact. So for example, road closures, construction and stuff like that. It's able to capture that information here as well. So we're going to add that one in. But just to show you some other information here. So if we're looking directly at home, maybe we want to add this region as Canada so we can see some Canadian data. So this is beyond just data sets. We can have apps in here. So for example, you might find some maps in here from Manitoba. There might be some data sets or apps in here as well. You'll see here, for example, Environment Canada has weather condition points all over the place. You can get, we have some election results data or apps in here as well. So it's just curated data. So you know that anything coming from here is at least, been looked at and curated to make sure it's all authoritative and clean to use. So we can start to look at this as well. So back on my map here. So I'm going to go ahead and find that World Traffic Service, because we can start to do analysis here too, right? So we want to make sure the areas that have a lot of traffic, we want to make sure that they don't have a lot of potholes, right? So we make sure, where areas are where there's a lot of potholes, maybe that's will help us attract where we need to do some more maintenance around our roads. So I'm going to go ahead and add in this layer. Now we can start to see what's happening around here. So you can see if there's some type of road activity. So if I click onto it, we can see that there's some construction happening here. It starts in May, actually, May last year, and it's expected to end in October of this year. So that's coming from here, so we can start to see that information. So as I start to zoom in, it'll start to bring in more detailed information. So we can start to see here. So everything's relative, right? So if it's red here, it's most likely because there's a vehicle stopped there at that time. It could be just because there's a stop sign, right? That's why that's a red area here. So we can see along the 400 here, it's nice and green. Where I usually drive down the Gardner and downtown, it's always red all the time. So, that's always something to be expected about. So we can add in, a World Traffic Service into here. You might also, I'm going to also show you guys, I'm going to open up a new tab. We also have our kind of municipal customers using an app that you also have access to called ArcGIS Hub. It's a way to provide data in a way that's open data or allow people to download information. So the city of Barrie, I'm just going to quickly Google it because I can't remember the URL. But if I just put in city of Barrie open data, they use our platform to provide data openly. So you could go ahead and download the data if you wanted to and have a static file, but because we're all on the same system, you can actually have a live connection to that data set, which means that anytime they're updating their information, you will also have that updated information here as well. So if I go into, for example, their open data here, I could go ahead and explore some data sites that they have here. So maybe I want to look at transportation, for example, and see what they have in here. So they have a road closures data set, road segments, parking devices, sidewalk, walkways, city-owned parking lots. So they have a lot of information here. Let's go ahead and maybe just add in the road closures data set. So this is coming from their Waze app or their Waze integration. So they have some stuff here. So there's not a lot, but we have some things just to showcase. So what I can do is I can go into the full details. Again, on the right-hand side, I could go ahead and download this data if wanted to, but I'm going to go into, they have a live data source this way. And what you can also see is you can open this up in ArcGIS Online. So you can start to add in this data if you wanted to. So go into the map viewer And since it's, I think because I'm in incognito mode, it's not picking up my login credentials, but you can go ahead and add this into a map if you want to. So I'll put, when I give the slides back to Benjamin, I will give you guys a link to the open data site. So that way, if you want to explore some open data and stuff like that, you can do it. Or what we could also do is if I just search for, let me go into add again. And let me, if I search in ArcGIS online, that's like going into the Wild Wild West now. So anyone that's made anything available publicly in ArcGIS online, you'll be able to find. So keep in mind, it might not be accurate. It might not be good data because it's available publicly, but it's data. So keep that in caution. So you'll find some. So if I just put in, for example, Barrie, you'll start to see here. So I think this spatial data here, yeah, this is Barrie, New Zealand. That's not what we want. Maybe if I put in city of Barrie. So I could search it this way. Maybe it's not giving me what I want. What I could do instead. So Brent Harlow, if you see anything from here, he actually works in the GIS department at City of Barrie. So if you see his content, that's at least real. But what I could do is, so if there's a lot of data here. Maybe some of it, as we saw, was from New Zealand. What I can do is I can actually click on the map, this filter, and you can see here the only show map within this map area, which means that any data set that's within here, the city of Barrie, we at least know it's for this context. So here we can see, for example, plow location. So you can see there's a lot of Brent Harlow information now, active building permits. And maybe if you have like an urban planning study that you're doing, you can start to see that information here as well. So, curbside collection, zoning bylaws. Let's go ahead and add in a zoning bylaw information. Right, so we can start to see everything and anything to do with development within the city of Barrie. If I don't want to add this, I can always just go ahead and turn it off. So let me just go back here. So we have this. I'm just going to go ahead and turn that off by clicking onto that eye. So we're just going to work with this data that we have for now. And let's just say I don't want this anymore. I'll just click on the 3 dots and remove it. So again, remember, if I have the World Traffic Service on, I'll see some things that I can do. If I have my own data on, I can have a lot more things to do, right? So that will help you decide what you want to do. I'm just going to move my data underneath so that my potholes are on top of my road network here. So moving on from here, let's go ahead and now symbolize some of this information. So actually, before we do, staying on the left-hand side, let's go ahead and change that base map since our survey form was using the imagery-based map. Let's go ahead and use that here as well. So we'll start to see that here. And now let's go ahead and start symbolizing. So I'm going to make sure that I'm on my report of pothole. And now I can start to do some things. Let's go ahead and look at styles. Maybe what we want to do is do it by field. So let's do it maybe by the size of the potholes. And maybe we'll make the symbols, the bigger the size, the bigger the circle, right? So we can just go ahead and say, what size of pothole here. Click on add. So right now it's going to do it this way. So let's go ahead and change up these colors a little bit. Let's make small. I'm going to click into it. Let's make them maybe like a green because it's, not that bad. So we'll do green here. And now I'm going to make this symbol. It's at 6. Let's make it maybe 10. Okay. Start to see some of our small circles there. Large. Let's actually move these around too. So you can change these so we can put them in order of small, medium, large. Medium, let's make yellow. So I'm going to change this fill color to like a yellower color. That's good. And maybe we make medium now into like 15. So a little bit bigger than small. Maybe even 18 is fine. Okay. So we can start to see, I think it did it for all of them. Let me just make sure. Okay, it's not doing by those colors. Okay, let's just do it this way then. Okay, so let's just make our large red, because then we know those are the ones that we got to really focus on. Maybe make it a brighter red there. Click done. So now we can start to see, red, green, and yellow for different potholes. Maybe we don't really see. This is where sometimes you got to refine some things. It's really kind of contrasting, or sorry, not kind of blending in with our World Traffic Service. So let's go a little bit wild, okay? Let's make small, like hot magenta pink. So we can start to really see it here. Well, maybe we'll make medium a little bit kind of more on a brighter side, like a chartreuse color. Perfect. And then let's make our large a little bit more different here. And let's make it kind of like I'm gonna make it still bright. Maybe that's a little bit too, maybe really dark, dark, dark. Something that we can really start to stand out and see. And what I'll also do is I will go ahead and click on all of them and maybe make the outline color a little bit more apparent. So you can start to see that here. And what we could also do is maybe we just kind of tone down the traffic service a little bit. So I clicked into the traffic service here. Again, under the, if I go under here, under the options, I think down here, I can change the transparency. So I'm just gonna make it to like about 50% because we don't really need it that much. It's just for context purposes. Clicking back into report a pothole. Now I start to really see my data stand out a little bit. I also can do some more effects. So maybe if I want to make it bloom, you can see it starts to light up. I can do a drop shadow so they really pop out from my map. I think I like that well. So we'll keep that as is. So now we can start to really see our data pop here. Again, this is a lot of the map. You're just refining how things look. Maybe instead we might want to change our base map to, like, let's say like a dark gray base map. So our data really pops out. So you can really start to play around with this. It's going to take time. This one's what takes the most longest time. I can stay here all day and just work on how things look here, but let's keep on moving. So let's work on the pop-up. So when we actually have someone clicking onto this, if I click into this, now I can start to see some of that pop-up information. And so I can see, you know, the information that's been collected as well as the image. If I want to change all this stuff, so maybe I don't really care about having this last edited text, we just click into the pop-ups option. I'm just going to go ahead and close that out. So that will just go ahead and update that out. We can always change around what's in the list here as well. Maybe I don't really care about putting where is it because it's already on the map. So we already know where it is. So we can maybe take away that, but we'll keep everything else as is. And so now our kind of pop-ups and our maps are done. Now that that's kind of done here, I'll go ahead and click on save as, and we'll just call this here our college pothole map. And again, I'm going to say it saves into that folder. So I'll go ahead and click save. And this is basically the basis of what you're doing in ArcGIS Online is first creating your map. Now that our map's been, we collected our data and our map's been created, now we can start to get into the fun stuff of some of that kind of app building and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and first create a dashboard so we can summarize some of this information. So I'm going to click on create an app. And then from here, we'll start to see some of these things here. So we're going to keep this map open as well. I'm going to maybe I have to click on dashboards. It opens it into a different tab anyways. So now what we're going to call this here is maybe college potholes or potholes around Georgian College. It will start to build this dashboard and then I'll give you guys a break because that's been an hour of me talking at you guys for a bit. And we'll give ourselves kind of like a 5-minute brain break. But starting from here, so now we're going into kind of our dashboard building. And I'm going to show you guys some live examples here as well. So let's just go ahead and add in some KPIs around this dashboard. So maybe, for example, I'm going to go ahead and add in an element here on the left-hand side of, let's say, an indicator. And we're going to put in, you know, the total count of potholes being collected. So I'm going to do the count here, and that's great. So I'll do the indicator here. Maybe I've seen this is total potholes collected. So it's already reading out that data. So we know there's been 22 potholes that have been collected. I can add in an icon here if I want to. So if there's like maybe like a circle or something that makes sense, we can add in any icons here, but we're just going to keep this as is for now. I'm going to change this to say, you know, total pothole. So we know what this element here is on the dashboard. And I'll give you some resources and stuff too with each one. So that way you can, you know, refer back to how we're going to do this. So let's go ahead and add in maybe something underneath here, maybe about the size of the potholes. So we'll just go ahead and a serial chart here as well. We'll do the category here of the size. So we can see large, medium, small. Maybe if I want to, I can change the statistics here. Maybe I want to make it by the count and then, or sorry, here, sorting here. So we can make this by either by the statistics. So it goes in order. If we want to, I mean, it kind of does it this way anyways. I can reverse this order. So maybe it goes small, medium, large, whichever we kind of want to do that. The charting itself, do we want a vertical? Do we want a horizontal? You can kind of decide that on your own. The category axis, this goes into the categories here. Do we want labels on or off? Do we want under the value axis? Maybe we want to add in some labels there. We could or not. We could, it's up to you guys here again. The series itself, this is actually the actual blocks in them. Maybe we want to put on a, a label here of the count for each. We can change up the colors here. So right now it's orange. We could do a single, or maybe we want to do it by category, right? So maybe we want to tie in those colors of what's on the map to our actual serial chart. So I don't remember the colors off by hand, but I can refer back to my map here into the styles. And I'll just go ahead and copy out these hex codes. So we have to go in here and copy these out. This will now tie our dashboard back to our map or those KPIs in here. So there's the pink. Let's do the medium. I wish there was a way that could just, figure it out from the map itself, but maybe I'll put that into the idea site there. Let's go ahead and put in large that we have as black. Maybe I'll change this color again. I'm really not happy with my large color map. Maybe I'll do purple. That'll really make it stand out there. And let's now color out this. So let me show you what this happens now too. So even though right now in this map, it is, currently, let me go put this one in. And let's do under the general, and I'll just say size of pothole. Let's also make a title on this because, as someone looking into this dashboard, what does this mean? We'll go ahead and put that in. Maybe I'll bold it to the side or maybe center it out. That's up to you. And then let's go ahead and click on done. So right now, even though my map, I just changed it here. So if I save this now, click done. Might have to do it again, done. Now I might have to resave it. Because I made this now, because everything's instantaneous. So once I change something in the map here, I can now just go ahead and refresh. Let me save this bar chart that I just made. And if I refresh, now those large potholes are now going to be purple because we change on the map. We're going to see that reflected here on our dashboard here now as well. So we can start to build these out. We start to see here. So let's see what other kind of data we can put in. Maybe we want to put in some details or maybe a list of all the potholes. I'll put that on the side here so we can get all the list of them going here as well. We can add in some content about maybe what it is. So we'll put in, reported. Let's see what we have in here. Maybe which lane it is in. Or actually, that doesn't make sense. Let's make another pie chart then. So let's go ahead and add the last one here. We'll do it on this left-hand side. And let's add in a pie chart. Maybe where it is or which lane it's in. So right lane, left lane are not applicable. Maybe we just care about the lanes and not the non-applicables. So you can always filter this data out here as well. So let's just say that, which lane is it in is not equal to, it will do not applicable. So we only really care about the right lane and the left lane here. So again, the chart, I can go ahead and change up these labels and stuff if I want to. Maybe I don't want to have labels, but let's do a legend instead. We can do it by the value or by the percentage of the total. So we'll do the value here. Let's put it to the left-hand side. And let's go ahead and add in let's see here, what's this called? Lane of pothole. Put that in, bold that. So we're starting to build out our dashboard here. And let's just go ahead and change that here. So that's how it starts to build out. I'm just making a simple dashboard for now, but now that this dashboard is kind of getting there, as we're starting to add in more and more data, this will update on the dashboard. Let's kind of work on some of the extra elements here. Let's say since we're working on a dark theme base map, let's make the dashboard itself a little bit more of a darker theme. We can add in filters and stuff to this map here as well. Let me just close out of here. Let's add some action. So what that means is let's add some interactivity to our dashboard. I think I'm going to just place this guy right here as well, so it looks a little bit neater for me. Again, you can play with how you want this to all look. You all have access to the data. So now let's add in some interactivity here. So what that means is I can have my bar charts and my pie charts interact with the data on the map as well. So what I can do from here, let's go back into the gear. So when you toggle over, you can edit any of this stuff. So I'll click into actions. So what do I want it to do? Maybe I want it to filter, but what do I want it to filter? Well, I can only see here with the little cylinder. This is actually a database symbol, but that means that that's what's connected to the data. So that's what's going to be connected onto the map. So if I turn that on, and maybe what I also wanted to do is I wanted to, pan over to it. If I turn these on now, what that means is if I click into this, it's going to pan over and filter that information for me. And again, I can also do that here. So if I go into the drop down here into the actions, maybe I wanted to filter this. And what I could also do is because, I have my lane of my potholes, my pie chart and my infographics here, I can do that as well. Maybe I want to also submit in or filter that infographic or the indicator here. So now if I click on small, you can see here that it changes this as well. So and see, we can do that interactivity. I'll save this. And what I can just start to do is I'm just going to take away mode equals edit. So now we can start to see what our dashboard looks like. So now we have a dashboard going here. So what we can actually do is I'm going to go ahead and submit in another pothole so we can see how quickly we can update this information. So because because we're signed in, right, that calculation in this case worked. So I'll go ahead and say that we'll add in another large pothole. I'll say it's not applicable, and I'll just say it's, in the hallway. I'll call it Hallway Avenue. Let's go ahead and go to where we are. Oh, my VPN does not allow me to put in my actual location. So let's go ahead and where did that take me to? Downtown Toronto. Nice. Okay, let's go around here. I'm just going to put it right here. So I'll go ahead and I can take a photo. I guess I have to. I don't know if it's going to allow me to. We'll just do that. Did that work? Perfect. Check mark. Submit that in. So now that that's in, if I just refresh my dashboard, we'll now see 23. And so that's how quickly we can start to update that information and see that information here as well. So I'll start to get some examples. I'll give you guys like a 5-minute break, a little brain break for a bit, and then I'll come back and show you some examples of some dashboards, just to show you some live things that our customers are doing. Awesome.
Sounds great. All right. So you guys want to stretch your legs if you want to go grab a coffee quickly, feel free. And come back.
2:55, let's say,
Yeah,
come back.
for 2:55, and then we'll finish off. All right.
Awesome.
Thanks. That's sweet. And we'll have a period for questions and stuff at the end. So don't
Yeah.
worry if you guys have questions. We can do all that. Yeah, so there will be an assignment. You guys have done assignment 3 on Tableau, so assignment 4 will be on this. Yeah, you guys are gonna build your own system of potholes. So I'll give you details on it, but yes, there will be. So it's gonna be good knowledge to know. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Okay.
We've got this is like the collection of lost and found. So if you need a charger.
Oh, nice. I have one already connected in. Okay, let me just, okay. Let me get some live examples here for you guys.
Brent Hartlow, he's on our professional advisory.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, like we.
Nice.
to make sure that like the stuff we're teaching is in line with like industry.
Mm,
So, yeah,
mm.
it's a very,
Yeah, that makes
my
sense.
sister works with them all the time, so like.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
Falling down trees or telephone wires and stuff
Mhm.
like they do with, yeah, all our, yeah, it's cool. Because most cities would have one, like, go-to person, right, that would do that.
Sometimes I have a group of people. It depends, like, it just depends on how much they've invested in their GIS. Because sometimes the GIS department could be like part of the IT themselves, some of them are not part of IT.
Yeah,
It all depends.
yeah. I was looking to see if they had a pothole system.
I don't think so.
They did very. I don't know, I'm just gonna see them.
Well, they might have one, we just don't show it publicly. Research at the top.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Because I found one from, City of Colquitt, that they could use from DC.
Oh.
I was gonna show that after.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, let me get some examples here. Mm,
You can move the desk too, like you want, like the standing desk, if you wanted to sit.
Oh, no, I'm
Not
good.
standing.
I'm good. Thank you. No problem.
Yeah, I spoke. Yeah, so that was very important. We are getting out. In how I think it's. Not anything. Not actually. We don't actually get it. You know, the next piece. That's a little bit. It's more dashboard. I had to ask.
Did the parking code?
No, no, but it's okay. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna expense it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was just for it was for the AI hack or something.
Yeah, yeah,
I wonder if that works for the whole like semester.
yeah.
It's it was 2 days.
I guess so. Yeah, it's okay. That's not a problem.
But it worked okay, like.
Yeah.
After
Yeah, yeah.
used for some people who've never done it before.
Yeah, I have the app.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I just have like a folder in my phone of all the parking
Yeah.
apps. There's like Honk, there's like
Hotspot is.
yeah, I have Green Pea for Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
Down there.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why. So yeah, I have a bunch, but I like that Honk has like the QR option, so you don't have to have the app.
Yes.
But the only thing is I wish they put it out on the parking lot, because I saw it here.
Yeah.
But like I copied just the Q from this phone to this phone
Yeah.
to get the QR code.
I know, I don't know why they don't. Make so much more sense.
Yeah.
Go up to the side,
Yeah, exactly. It's okay.
Put it in our suggestion box.
Yeah. Okay. I think everyone's back. So I'm gonna just quickly showcase some dashboards for you guys. And then after we will get into some fun stuff. So let me just actually show this. Share my screen. There we go. So the dashboards page, you guys can see that. Perfect. This is not it. 1 second. I have my stuff all over the place here now. There. Okay. So I will send you this link too, but the ArcGIS dashboards page has a gallery of all the different types of dashboards that people have made. So for example, if I think I went by industry right now, but let me just go by, that's fine here. So if I go by industry here, so for example, we can look at, power outages here from California. Let me just go into here just to showcase like how cool you can make dashboards and how they can be also interactive. So here, for example, this is looking at power outages around California. If I go into, let's say, Riverside, I can click into a specific polygon or an area of California and see how that all kind of interacts with each other. Another one so even if you just are an ArcGIS online, if you just go into, let's go into the page that we were at so you guys can follow along if you want to. If I just go back to the content page, if I just click into the search bar and I just put in, like, let's just say I'm trying to find something about transportation, right? I can just search for that. And then I can toggle off that it searches for everything in ArcGIS Online. And then specifically in the apps, let's just look at dashboards, for example. So I can drill down here and I can see, for example, Know My City transportation. I don't even know what this is about, but let's go ahead and look and see what they have in here. So it looks like households without a vehicle, right? So census tract, this is all about the US here. Commute types of work, commute time to work. So it's a quite more simple dashboard compared to the California one. One of my favorites right now to show actually is from the City of Hamilton's open data site. So again, this is a hub site. So anything within the data in this hub site is something that you actually have access to as well. So in here in their data stories and visualization section, give it a second here to load up, but they have a really cool dashboard that's looking at, I think it's in here. Yes. Council and leadership expenses. So how, how politicians and such in the city are, using public dollars. So they have a dashboard here that kind of showcases that once it starts to load up here. Give it a second. So here, for example, senior leadership, we can see how they're spending public tax dollars. And again, this is openly available, so they have the data already available. But the key thing here is that, sometimes when you have data available, publicly, it's going to be in a shape file or Excel file that, what are you going to do with that if you are not doing some type of data visualization, right? So this is why they've created apps around the same data that they have publicly available, because it gives a lot of people context as to what's happening. Because I know my dad's not going to download a spreadsheet and then look at all the information when he could just see it in a visualization like this. So here's a kind of a cool way. So you can add in like filters. So for example, I want to see how public works. It looks like they don't have any data for them. Let's look at corporate services, for example. So right now, year to date, they've used 96,000, let's say, public dollars here. I can see on like on consulting services, office supplies, subscriptions of information, year to year expenses. So it looks like 2019 was their biggest year so far. And, 2020, not so much, most likely because everyone was at home. So office costs were low. But everyone coming back into the office and such, so you can start to see this information in a pretty cool way. They have it here by mayor's office down to each ward within the city as well. So cool way to look at dashboards other than, in a real world example. So they have a lot of cool things in here. I think, housing and homelessness dashboard in here. I'll give you links to all these open data sites so you can access a lot of them. So yeah, this is looking at homelessness and access to affordable housing, which is a big thing, a topic here in Ontario lately. So it's just taking some time to load, probably because there's a lot of data or something in it, but you guys can explore this. So I'm just putting these out to your attention. So when you're trying to like build your own dashboards, it's a great way just to search for what you're looking for and you'll see those there. Let's go back into now our actual side here. So that's kind of on the system of insight side. Let me go here. Now that we've taken our data and we've collected our data, we've visualized our data. So now we found where there's high propensity of potholes around campus, where there's not, we've overlaid it with some information. So now the last part that we're going to go over today is our system of engagement. So now that we've collected, so if we think about if we are in the city of BDAT1000, right? So 1006. So we have now, we've done our pothole blitz. We've collected where our potholes are. We've shared that out within our organization. We have a dashboard going of seeing all that information. Now we have to, since we are a public entity, we have to share this information out. So what we're going to do is now we're going to explore some applications of how you can now engage your end user. So how you're reaching your audience. So how we do this a lot is by applications. You've already seen now dashboards. We're going to explore a couple of other ones like instant apps, experience builder if you want to go into it. So we have kind of two flavors. We have something that's templated or not templates. So in terms of the template, so everything that I'm showing here is all configurable. You don't need to know any type of coding skills or anything like that to create an application. And the key thing is that they're all available through the desktop device, but you can also leverage and create them to be optimal for a mobile view as well. And the key kind of building block of any of these apps is the map. So you want to get your map to exactly where you want it. And then from there, you can start to build out, all those applications around what you want it to do. So in terms of a couple of ones I want to show, so there's like the city of Truro or the town of Truro in Nova Scotia. They use story maps as a way to provide the mayor's address of the city of what's happened in the last year. So the mayor will, I don't think the mayor actually creates a story map. I think probably some people on the team actually probably do it for them, but yeah, every year the mayor would have on their website a PDF file that would showcase all the information, anything that they want to talk about in the last year about the town. And so now they've transformed that into a story map so people can, visualize that information with some maps along the way. The town of Coburg also as well, they created essentially like another type of hub site that we're going to go into that we kind of talked about already in the past as well. That includes a lot of utility information. So especially when there's been information about assets and stuff, when there's like big outage events or weather events, they have an internal hub that they're able to see all that information through as well. So that's just a couple of slides. Let's go into our actual building blocks of our app here. So let's go back into, one sec, there we go. So now that we have, for example, our pothole map here, right? So again, building block starts here. So we have now a bunch here. So it looks like we got a couple more coming in. That's great. So I'll just go ahead and see this map now a little bit into more detail that we have. So again, when I clicked on share map, right, we created a dashboard already, but now let's look at some other ways that we can also collect some other types of information. So I'm going to first start with instant apps. Instant apps are great kind of pre-templated solutions ready to go. So we can see there's a bunch of different ones that we can choose from. Depending on what you want to do. So for example, this nearby one is a cool one. For example, if you wanted to see what things that you have mapped nearby. So for example, if you had, let's say, hospitals, or you're creating like a medical facilities application. So you might have all the hospitals, walk-in clinics, and pharmacies all mapped out. This one here will allow you to put in your location and then search within a buffer distance of what all those assets or what phenomena you have mapped out that are nearby. So that's a great tool to kind of figure out maybe where's the closest walk-in clinic to where you are. Maybe where's the closest hospital, or maybe you are trying to, find a local park, right? You can, if you have all the parks mapped out, you'll be able to use this tool to figure out where the closest park is to you. But since we collected a lot of photos today, I'm actually going to use this attachment viewer app, which allows us now, we've been just focused on the points on the map, but we've collected a lot of good photos. So let's instead use the attachment viewer as a way to now showcase all the photos of all the potholes that we've collected. So an example of what I've done with this before in the past is there's a company that does, and I won't show you the example because it's really gross, but they do underwater sewage cameras. So when there's when they need to do a sewage inspection, instead of someone going all the way down there, they actually have little robots that can now drive through into the sewers. And so those videos that they have, they just had them as links around, but what they want to do is, since they use survey 123 to capture the video, and then where each of those are, so they actually have a map now with this attachment viewer app where they can see where they've done all those sewer inspections and then see those videos as well. So if you, yeah, it's kind of gross, but it's an example that it's a really cool way to showcase, because in that case, what's important to them, the map is important as to where they went, but the most important thing is the information that they collected, which is the video. So the attachment viewer is kind of a great option for that. So when you're exploring any of these templates, you can always click on the preview button to see how your data is going to actually be used in this application here. It's taking some time to load. So I'm just going to kill this, but you can essentially click on the preview. I'm just going to click on the choose here, and I'm just going to see here the pothole picture viewer. And click create app. So it's going to start creating my instant app for me. So there's two parts of this instant apps. You can either have an express mode, so that kind of goes into just the drill down to the quick bits that you need to do. Or what you could also do is have it that it will showcase, all the detailed information as well. So we got to first turn on all of our attachments here. So it looks like it's like someone took a picture of, okay, their keyboard. That's cool. That's fine. So we can start to see here, this is what it's going to start looking like, right? So we have my pothole here. We see all the pictures. And so this is how it's looking. So let's start to go through it here under the map side. So we have this map selected. We can add in some more detailed map information here if we want. Let's click on the next button here because we're in express mode. What do we want to call it? So I can change this title if I want to. Do I want to add in an introductory video, like a splash page or something? Maybe that's like some terms and conditions that maybe, this data is not accurate. Please use it at your own will kind of thing. We can add that in, or maybe it's just some introductory information about what this was about and, how to use the application. So I'll just go ahead and turn that off for now. We can also add in a legend, which will probably make sense so people understand what those points and dots on the map mean. The next part here now is, how we want the attachments to look. So do we want it to be attachment focused or do we want it to be map focused? So we look at the map first and then all the photos along the side. So I'm going to do my attachment focused one. Do we want to display, the features within the attachments as well? So this little part here, do we want to turn that on or off? That's up to you. We'll turn it on. And the image pan zoom, do you want to have a shortcuts menu here that provides it with some shortcuts with their keyboards? You can add in a layer list. So if you want to, be able to have people be able to turn on and off the world traffic layer, any other layers you have available, you can add that in here. Do we want people to be able to do any attribute editing? So maybe I want to be able to, edit this information here. I could do that by clicking on the pencil and changing this. So I'll just turn that off for now. And then we'll just go ahead. I think the next in here is, how we want it to look. Light mode, dark mode, you kind of choose how we want this theme to look. So maybe we want to do like a clay theme. You can start to see here like indigo theme. You can kind of choose some predetermined themes. Once we're done, we can click publish and I can go ahead and confirm this. So now we've already now taken this map and we've now created an app around it. And that's how easy it is to create a templated map from Instant Apps. Now, let's just say, for example, you are, an organization that you want to embed this app into your website. You can give this code, this iframe code to your web person, whoever it is, and they can go ahead and embed that in there. Here, I'll give you an example of one that's been done, which I have here. This is like the city of Richmond Hill. They created a portfolio app or a portfolio template from Instant Apps that they've embedded into their website here of looking at cultural significantly places or things to do around here. So you can see here, if I click on any of these, I can see information. This is about the former ski club cabin here. They have here, a bunch of different information. I can look at it through some bookmarks here. So they have like the village core here, what's happening. I can read more information about it, listed, designated, etc. So you can start to see all that information. So this is that same Instant App technology. They just use a different template and they've embedded it into their website here as well. So that's a cool little live example. If I want to, I can also now launch this to see what that looks like. While I'm building this too, you'll notice I can look at some views. So right now it's a desktop view, but if I know that people might be looking at this on their phones, I can see what that's going to look like on a phone, whether it's in portrait mode or landscape mode, because that can help me determine how I'm going to make my app look. But here now that's done. So where did that Instant App? So here's our little Instant App. So now I can click on any of these little locations of our potholes, and it's focused on what those potholes look like on the map. So that's kind of one of our Instant Apps here. So that's one way that we can start to create applications. A couple of other apps that we can start to see here. Story Maps is a great one as well. Have you guys heard of Story Maps before? Nope. Okay. So story maps are so the Instant Apps in the dashboards, right? Those are kind of a map-based way of looking at information. Story maps is a great way of also looking at information, but with a narrative around it. So, now that we've created this pothole study of this, collecting potholes in this map, maybe as an engagement tool, maybe we want to talk about pothole or car safety, kind of a map around that, or a little story about that. So we can click on story maps and we can now go into information about pothole repairs and what to do and what we can do with it. So maybe I want to call this here, the system of potholes. A look at pothole management in BDAT 1006. So here we start to go. So we can start to add in. So this is kind of, think of this as like your tool for creating a narrative, or now that you've done all your GIS work, you want to now be able to visualize it and create a story around it. So maybe what we're going to start to do first is have some introductory information about potholes. So, you know, potholes are a result of bad weather and sometimes bad roads. Right? And we can just start to add in more and more text about it. So I've already started to write some out. So I'm just going to continue on from there. Oh, that's, I don't know why that's doing that. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, we'll just continue on. So maybe I want to talk about here, you know, pothole information. I'm just going to start to find things. So that's actually what happens when water penetrates. So I'm just going to copy and paste all this from the city of Toronto. Of course, do your research and make sure you cite your information correctly. I'm just going to do this for the sake of the demo. So we're going to go ahead and add in some information here about potholes, and then maybe just about, let's put a separator in here, and let's continue on with, now we can add in images. So let's go ahead and add in an image about potholes. So let's look at this here. This is some great information about what happens. So I'm going to open this up into a new tab, and I'm going to use this image in my story map. So let's do a link. Add that in. And then if I want to, I could put this kind of beside or before this as well, but let's actually keep it under here. And now for this image, for example, maybe I want to add it to the right and then add in some information about it. So let's just take this and put this here instead. Where'd this go? Text there. That's better. I'm just using my keyboard here. So it's just like we're using a word processor here. We can just use a backspace button and delete buttons here if we want to. But here we can start to see here. So we added an image. This image as well, if I click into the options, I can, you know, allow readers to expand this. I can add in some properties like attribution, or if this is a screen reader for accessibility purposes, I can add a, you know, diagram displaying how potholes are created. Right, so and we can also add in captions here if we want to as well. So moving on, one sec. Excuse me. And so maybe want to add in now some more information here. Let's add in some text about, let's go a little bit here. So, you know, in BDAT1006, we created a survey to find potholes around campus. We used Survey 123 to build a form and collect the information. So now maybe what is Survey 123? Let's go ahead and add in that information here. So I'm just going to go to the Survey 123 website and then add in that information here. So I'm going to just go ahead and hover over. So it's just like using any other word processor when you want to do this. So we're going to add in a link to a web page and paste that in. So now people can go to the Survey 123 website. Maybe what I also want to do is maybe I want to showcase my form, right? So here's our link to our form. So let me just copy that link and let's go ahead and embed that in here. So I'm going to click on the plus button and let's go ahead and embed that. So I can go ahead and put in that link, click add. And so here's that form now. So maybe we want to add in here, you know, you can access the form below. So people could directly go ahead and add that form in here. So we can look at it this way, maybe as a card, because it probably looks a little bit nicer. Or what we could also do is just add a button. So maybe we want to say, you know, report a pothole. And then I can go ahead and, you know, what is a link to that pothole link survey? I add that in. So now there's a button in here. Let me make sure I did not add it in. Yeah, you have to make sure you click enter. That adds it in. So yeah, perfect. And now we can see that link and that'll open up that link to the form. So we can get rid of this card if we want to. And then now we can start to see here. So let's add in a heading here. And I'm just going to say instead of paragraph, it's a heading. So we'll look at, you know, a look at the data collected. And we can start to see that here. We have now our map already embedded. But let's just say if we didn't have the map already embedded, the reason why it's embedded is because it came from the map and we launched into story maps. Or if I didn't, I could just go into map and then go ahead and find that map here as well if I needed to. And then we can just continue on that, maybe we want to now embed in our dashboard as well. So maybe we'll add in some text here about once we've collected the information, we can visualize it. And now let's go ahead and add in our link to our dashboard. So let's copy that link. Let's go ahead and embed that in there. And this time, let's just make it, you can see here, you can set this sizes and stuff, but this small size actually looks pretty okay. So we'll keep that as is. And then we can continue on. So, let's just say that we want to probably add in a heading about what to do. So like when you're creating these story maps and stuff, you always want to come back to a call to action. That kind of helps you kind of now take your story, what you did, and what are you going to get out of this at the end. So maybe we want to do what to do if you run into a pothole. Maybe this is where we can add, report it. So maybe we want to add in some call to action to report it. Maybe we want to talk about some safety tips about, what happens to your car? What can you do to your car if it hits a pothole? And maybe there's a way to get a claim, right? You want to talk about that. Maybe you want to talk about how, what can we do to fix this kind of thing, and then write a story about it. So always kind of come back. I'm just showcasing how story maps work. So try to create a story out of this. So let me just show you an example here of the one from before. Let me just I just need to get to that. Give me 1 second here. Let me just stop sharing. I just got to get to that link again, which is buried into my Teams chat. So just give me a second. It was called. There it is. Okay. For some reason, my computer is doing something weird. Okay.
Story of my life, switching between like 4 monitors. And
Yeah, let me just do this. Okay, so share this. Go in here. Let me open up a new, oh, this is out. For some reason it's doing this. Let's just do this. Because I'm signing into so many different things. So here, for example, is at the end. Here's like my Edmonton potholes information. So I have in here to talk about getting some feedback, recent year status. So we're talking about, some information about our city and about how to talk about getting potholes and stuff. Here we have a hotspot map of how to all the hotspots of where everything is. Potholes by request status. So that was, we symbolize by size. There's like a status field in this one if it's been submitted or closed. They visualized it that way. We talked about what our city does to target these. So we have here now a dashboard to look at our 311 requests in total. Now, keep in mind, this is a dashboard, but this one just doesn't have a map. So you don't have to have a map everywhere you are, but so put a map where it makes sense. But here, for example, we have some charts and some information about each of these here. Then we have, what is a pothole? So we have a whole section here of what that is. And we've, in this case, embedded in Edmonton's pothole information PDF document that you have. So it doesn't have to be just your ArcGIS online content, like we've added in images and stuff. We have historical trends in here. So we have like some pictures and charts that we've made in ArcGIS Pro in here as well. A legend information, and then like an app at the end of like a layer showcase as well. So now that this is now showcasing our pothole information from collecting it, visualizing it, and then sharing this all out. So I think that's going to be part of your kind of at the end of your assignment as well, which I think, do you want to talk about now? But
no, I'll let you do your thing.
Okay, so that was basically it for my session today. Showcasing the different access of how you can get to it. Later tonight, I'll send Benjamin my PDF or a PDF of my slides, but I'll also include in there resources for you for each part that we talked about. So like the dashboard, we have like videos and support. Actually, maybe we'll get to that here as well. So when you're actually logged in as a student into the org, let's go back into the homepage here. When you're logged in, how you can access some resources to help you. I'm going to send you some links of, how-tos with dashboards and mapping and all that stuff. But what you'll be able to do is when you actually click on your name, oh, you guys don't have access to, they didn't enable Esri access here.
Okay, I can ask with that.
Ask them for that. It just needs, it's just a toggle. Maybe I'll show you in mine. Basically because it's the same type of account that you guys have as well. So let me just log in with my credentials here. Yeah, ask about getting enabling Esri access on your user accounts. Essentially, what you should be able to do is when you click onto your name, you'll see here, for example, training. That's the community forums is like that internal Reddit like thing that I talked to you guys about earlier. There's blogs, there's a help documentation. So for example, the training side, there's like a free catalog of like learning tutorials and stuff like that. If you want to look into doing more things with dashboards or story maps or any of the sort, just give it a second to load up here. So here, for example, if you want to learn more about like ArcGIS Online or the catalog here, we can go into these like learning plans and see that information here. And a lot of these are free already. The community and forums, that's what will get you into that internal community, the Esri community. And that's where you can see blog posts and other things like that in here as well. So for example, ArcGIS ideas that we talked about. So if you have a cool idea you want to add in, you can find that here as well. So, order pop-ups the same as the legend, open a link to a new tab for ArcGIS Online items. So you can see your people start to have these, you can start to go by different capability in here as well. The blog is a great place to see cool how-tos and kind of cool things that they have available. So for example, there's this new tool out called Calculate Composite Index Tool in ArcGIS Online. So that kind of goes into what this analysis tool does. And all these analysis tools you guys have access to as well. What we didn't get into today, but we also have a whole section about 3D. That you can also do some cool 3D mapping. Actually, while we're here, I'll kind of show you that there's a really cool example of Heinz Stadium in Pittsburgh. Just to kind of showcase some of the cool things that you can do with ArcGIS Online. Let's go into, so this one here, so we kind of touched upon, where is it here? Experience Builder. Where is that? Why is it not showing up now? One second. Unless they took it down. But a Heinz Field, not stadium. That's why. Okay, it's a cool one here. So this is actually using Experience Builder. The ones that we talked about today were kind of more templated solutions. And the reason why I brought them up is because just for the sake of, since this is introductory, Experience Builder can get really complicated really quickly. I'll just quickly show you what it looks like. I like the templates because they help you kind of get started newly. So if you're new to ArcGIS, but just to kind of show you, so you can actually access all your apps through your app launcher as well. So when we kind of look at Experience Builder, let me just find it here. Where'd it go? Here. Experience Builder does not use templates. Experience Builder is completely blank. So as someone that's new to ArcGIS Online, if you guys want to use it, go ahead and I will give you those resources anyways. But the Experience Builder, if I click on create new builder, so you can start with like, basically like a view of how the page is going to look. But that's about it. So when we go into create and click on them, it's basically like you're using like almost like an Illustrator like app. So you really get into drilling down and creating like if you did not want to do a template, you really want to create your own web page. This is where you go ahead and do it. I just think for the sake of the introduction for ArcGIS that we could do this as like a phase 2. But if you still want to work on it, I'm still going to give you guys the tutorials and stuff like that if you're interested in it. But I think story maps and instant apps and stuff like that and dashboards especially are a great first couple of tools to get your feet wet. Yeah.
What would be the difference between experience builder and like story maps?
So the main thing is that even story maps, so let me go into how you start building. The story maps is like, again, there's already kind of like a template in a way where it's like kind of, I would say it's more user friendly for someone that's new to the ArcGIS Online world. So for example, if I go into story maps from here, where is it now? Watch it be right in front. There. So story maps, when you can see it here, right? So if I click on new story map from scratch or whatever it is, I just find that if there's already kind of like some type of box that you're in that kind of helps you kind of guide you through it. So, you know, you have your storyteller, like it kind of helps you through almost in a way of how you're creating this. So the story map now, you know, start telling your story. So there's guides and stuff along the way versus experience builder is kind of like you do whatever you want and there's no guidance to how you want to do it. So sometimes as someone that's new, when you're starting off with no guidance, it can get kind of daunting as to how you're going to build something because there's no kind of help or guide along the way. Versus story maps, there's even like the instant apps, right? There is some type of guided workflow to help you, which is why I think that's a better first step. You can still accomplish the same thing in Experience Builder of like a, you know, a multimedia type of narrative tool, like a web page that helps you scroll through a story. You can definitely do that in Experience Builder, but you're just going to spend more time doing it when story map's going to help you guide you through that anyways. That's the main reason why. Here, for example, so this is like Heinz Stadium. This is really cool. The cool thing that with this one too is that you can really incorporate cool things into here. So there's no real templates here that you can go from, but this, for example, oh, because they changed the name. It's a different company now. That's why it's not called Heinz Stadium anymore. So here, for example, we're starting out with a basic map. This is a seat map of the stadium, 2D map that we can start to see here. So we can see, click on any of these of the different sections. You can read more about it. You know, the average season ticket here is $1,400. You can see here, you know, this one here, the 500 level. Season tickets, $948. They've also now taken that same information, but they have revenue data in it. So now they have this in a dashboard where they're able to see now the revenue for each kind of section. So if I want to go into this section here, I can see how much revenue that specific section of the stadium brings. And you can start to see here in a map or in the bar chart where those kind of high areas of revenue are. And what you can also start to see if I click onto any of these here, click into this. Yeah, that's basically it for what this shows. But here's kind of some fun stuff. Here's looking at beer distribution. So, you know, if you're trying to find a nice cold drink while you're there, you can see where there's a hot spots or where a lot of people go. But if there's, you know, vendors here, look, no one's barely going to them. So that might be a place where you might want to go get a drink and not have to wait in line. And you can also start to see here in the experience builder, they've added in, for example, by company here. So by Molson Coors, you can see which ones they have here. By bottle and what's on tap as well. So this will help you kind of determine, you know, if you're really into Miller Lite, where that's going to be. They also have here, for example, about beer service areas. So areas where there's a darker color, there's more service there than anywhere else. This is really cool. This is looking about the stadium itself. See here, the AccuSure Stadium, formerly Heinz Field. Right, so it looks like they just changed this as well. So they just added in some links. But look, this is actually done through drone imagery. So they created a 3D rendering of the field. So they've flown over. So now you can truly start to look at the 3D capabilities within the ArcGIS Online world. So if you have a drone and you do some flyovers, you can create some cool 3D information here. And then here they have a section about the pro. So now they linked into a story map about this app, like what they've done here as well. So that's kind of a cool way to bring everything together. So here, yeah, you can start to see the added in, the embedded in that scene. So the difference is anything to do with 3D, they're called scenes. Anything 2D, they're called maps. But it's the same thing at the end of the day. It's just a 3D map of, what Heinz, or I keep calling it Heinz Field now, but the field, the football field in Pittsburgh and what it can do here. So you can start to see here that they kind of go through how exactly they built this project, which is, I think, a pretty cool way to see things. But that's basically what I know. There's a lot that we covered today, but I really hope you're excited about the ArcGIS system and using it. And yeah, you'll definitely get a lot of resources there, but this is kind of a quick-ish walkthrough through some of that system of information that we provided.
Awesome. Can we put our hands together?
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We have like maybe 15 minutes. So if you guys have questions, we can go through that. I will put out more information. We will have an assignment that you guys will do on ArcGIS using the 3 systems that we covered today. So system of record, system of
Insight,
and then system of
engagement.
engagement. That's what I was going to say. System of experience, engagement. So those 3 systems, and you will create your own system of potholes like what we did today. Okay. So yeah, if anyone has any questions about ArcGIS or about job opportunities, any questions you have for Jasmine, or me, but probably Jasmine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're happy to try and answer those. If not, we'll wrap it up. But yeah, any questions from anyone?
And anyone in the virtual, if you want to just put your hand up,
Yeah.
we can, you can unmute yourself, or if you want to just put it into the chat window, that's okay too. Any questions from anybody? What did you guys find the most interesting? Going outside?
Going inside, yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
Definitely go back out there.
But see, that's
Still
me.
work.
If you really like that, right? There's jobs in the field where if you want to be out collecting information, you can do that as well, for sure.
How would you, I have a question about like Tableau versus ArcGIS. How would
Uh-huh.
you compare those 2 technologies, and where would you say like the industry is headed in terms of like job opportunities?
So they're both, with Tableau was traditionally data analytics first. With this, I think with geography coming in a little bit, I don't really work with Tableau but from what I've seen, it's analytics first, and then if you have some geographical information, you can add it in. Now, what I do know is that the GIS information that you're adding in from Tableau is very much static information, because you're downloading that shapefile and then importing it in, right? So the vintage of that information is from the last time that you've, downloaded it. Now, if you're looking to do spatial analysis, that's where I think you would probably want to use something from the ArcGIS world, where that's more visual, it's more, geography driven. And the key thing here is that pretty much, especially when you're looking at open information or municipal data as well, that case, pretty much every municipality uses the ArcGIS system as a way to showcase and provide information. So as we showed, like the live data sets, right? So as soon as they're, updating on their end, if you have a live connection to it, you don't have to worry about re-updating your data because it'll be updated as you go. But you can now, the thing with Esri is that now we're getting into more of the data analytics side. I definitely think that the business of data is definitely growing. It's going to eventually be some type of currency is what I think for sure. But analytics, anything to do with information processing, definitely. So both are great tools, but it just depends on what you're aiming to do at the end of the day. I think the Esri side will allow you to create more narratives and visualizations than like just beyond just bar charts and stuff like that.
Yeah, and remember we had like professional networking for the big data program last year, and one of the biggest skills that some of those people were saying they're looking for was that storytelling. And so like story maps literally is meant exactly for that, building narrative into explaining your data. Because just a dashboard is great, but now being able to like tell the the context around the dashboard and the story with it and with that data is an even huger asset to have. So I know a lot of you guys are looking for jobs, right? And like that's a big thing for like getting permanent residency and like continuing to like stay in Canada. So job wise, what would you say would be like the avenue to take, or like suggestions you would have for like getting those skills to get, if ArcGIS is something that they're interested in?
So yeah, definitely there's volunteer opportunities as well. I find that always in the summertime, municipalities are always looking for students. That's how kind of I started. I knew that like I went to school in McMaster, but in a university you don't really get jobs, or you don't really get applied like knowledge as you do in college, which is why I ended up going to college after, because I found that I didn't have that, I had that appetite to do something more applicable. And it wasn't until I started doing that that I started to get more opportunities for projects and just in general in terms of like, especially like, I think it's easier to get a job in the municipal world in the summertime because they're always looking for a lot of GISC students, or not only you don't have to be in a GIS like program, but having that GIS expertise will help you get some type of co-op, and they're usually paid co-ops as well. So actually now is the time that April, March is when they start to post out jobs for the summertime. So they're usually 4 month stints that you can do to get some work experience, because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Usually the library as well, I find, has some type of GIS or data component to it as well.
Yeah.
So seeing opportunities there. I find now that GIS is not, it's not just like it used to be just, the GIS department is where they need GIS people, but I'm finding that's way different nowadays. Going to like public health is another big one where they're trying to find people that understand information and how to, display information and communicate it. That's a big place too that I find too, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hachikaru, I see you have a question, and Sai, I think you also had your hand up.
Yeah, Professor. Hello, Jasmine. Good afternoon. Really
Hi.
insightful lecture from you today. I was looking at the student assistantship link you sent. I I did a little read through, and I just have a question for us who are on study permits.
Mhm.
How is that going to work? As in just talking as to the visa, considering the conference is holding in the US. How is that going to work if we get it?
So depending on, it's not so much, you don't have to be a Canadian or an American citizen to apply, because it is an intake internationally. So as long as you are in some type of program that has a familiarity with GIS is what they're looking for. You'll notice that in the application, you're going to have to write, I think I remember I had to write an essay of why I love GIS and things like that. So you still have to go through the application process. The only implication that I can foresee is that if you're not in Canada or you're in a country that may require a US visa, that you are prompted to do that, because I don't know how long, depending on where you are, you might need to get a visa from your home country first.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
And Sai, did you have a question as well? I thought I saw
Yes,
your hand up there for the.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, Professor. So, like I thought of asking the question that you asked. Along with that, I would like to continue that question. So I have understood the GIC concept as well as like it's from data collection to the data analytics part. So the 2 points that triggered is like one is the live updation of the data set, which is not available in other fields like Power BI or Tableau. Along with that, the geographical insights that you mentioned. So apart from these, do you have any other positive sides that has been taken over by GIS, which are not available currently in Tableau or Power BI or other data
Yeah, like,
visualizations?
yeah.
ArcGIS over Tableau.
So the other thing too is like it's just beyond, like 3D mapping is a big one as well. So if you're trying to do just beyond 2D analysis and looking at that, bringing in other, so for example, I know I think Tableau can also bring in like BigQuery and things like that, right?
Yeah.
But ArcGIS also has those connections. So for example, like Survey 123, when you're looking at it from that, so one thing is like ArcGIS is beyond just visualizing data, you're creating systems that can help you with your workflows. So for example, one thing that we didn't mention was, but for example, that survey technology is also embedded into Microsoft. So for example, you can put in like, if you, I think because you guys are Microsoft shops anyways, like through your OneDrive, you'll be able to find things like Power Apps, like Power Automate, that you can integrate with as well. So for example, this is actually a real thing that happens in the real world with some of our utilities customers. When there's a power line that's been down, The key thing that happens is when they go out to do the inspection of that power line and figure out, how much of an area that's been like kind of focused on or impacted on. So they're using survey 1 to 3 to kind of essentially get all the information. But in the back end, one of our utilities customers actually has a power automate tool going that based off the severity and based on they'll put in all the information and actually generate a tweet from their corporate Twitter account to kind of let people know what's happening. Just like, for example, in the inspections information, if you had like a high critical status for a pothole, you can enable maybe an email notification that goes out to specific people to notify them of a critical infrastructure kind of repair that needs to happen. Beyond that too, the visualization side, there's like, it's beyond just visualizations. Visualization thing is the main thing that Tableau does. But if you want to do kind of more standardized workflows, connect and do some things for your work for you, that's kind of a great place for that too. And also if you want to share out that information, that could be in a web page. Because I don't know how you share Tableau stuff, to be honest.
To Tableau Public, I think you can online. It's
Okay.
online.
Okay, gotcha. Trying to think other advantages. I think it's just also content. I think with Tableau, you have to bring in your own content versus you saw that we have the Living Atlas that you can access content with. Municipalities have open data sites you can access content with. One thing that we did not also go through though is if I see here, if you guys have access to it, give me 1 sec. I gotta now go through all these tabs. Bear with me. You also have access to, where is one that has you logged in? 1 second here. Okay, here. If you go in here, I think, yeah, you have it here. So community and business analyst is actually a really cool tool that I feel like not a lot of people use. Essentially, this is getting into demographics information. So this can go into, even if you're like in marketing or something else, like this is a great place, especially in the commercial space. They're always looking for people that know market insights. In this tool here, so we have a lot of partnerships with different kind of companies and such. And one of the things is this my account? 1 sec. I want to go into your account, Ben. Okay, you do have access. It just signs me into mine. That's fine. So one of the things that you can do within here is that we have a partnership with Environics Analytics, which is a demographics data company. And they take the census information, and what they'll be able to do is be able to take that data, and they have a lot of cool like processes and models that allow them to also create projected values. So for example, the Simcoe County District School Board, which Barrie falls into, I worked with them on this as well in the past, where they're looking at population levels of projection to figure out, and not only to actually Simcoe, but school boards in general, they're always looking at capacity planning. So in the future, what schools, based off of population trends, what schools they need to shut down, where they might need to put in a new school, like around Barrie as well, where there's so much development happening. So looking at projected population variables will help the city planners and school board planners decide on what's happening, like how they can better plan their communities. So things like in here, so you can this is a popular tool that a lot of commercial companies use as well. So here you can put in like your trade areas or your geographies of interest. And the key thing that you can do from here is that you can run like infographics. If this clicks and uses, for example, let me just do one here. I wanted to click, why is it not clicking? 1 sec here. Let me do this, 1 sec. I know it's not something that we covered, but it's just, I think it's a really cool tool to see. Let me go into first selecting a geography from the map. Let me just do like a census subdivision on the map here. Cool, we'll finish this. So now I'm gonna go ahead and run a report infographic. So let me go and done. So let's look at, for example, standard infographics here. I'm going to show you guys prison segmentation because this one is really cool. 1 sec here. So what prison segmentation is basically the long form census where they ask you a boatload of extra questions. You actually send one to every 18 households because the whole idea is this Tobler's law or birds of a feather flock together, which is you and your neighbor are very similar than you versus someone that lives in another province. So when you sometimes go into a store and they're asking you what your postal code is, no offense, but they don't care about you. They're trying to actually figure out information about your neighbor. Because you and your people that live near you will determine and help you decide what they're going to offer as product, let's say. So for example, I know living in Hamilton, certain, let's say, Loblaw stores will have more organic content or organic foods versus another one, maybe a couple like cities away. And that's based off spending demographics and stuff like that. So this is really cool. So what Environx Analytics actually done is they've put Canadians into like 68 different like categories of information, like categories or household sociographic types. So here, for example, you can see that they have country traditions, turbo burbs, and kickback country here. So what is a turbo burb, right? So this is generated already through here. So these are, middle-aged, upscale suburbanites, right? So they're the wealthiest suburban segment. Turbo burbs is a haven for middle-aged families enjoying the fruits of their labor. You can see, the average household income here is 220,000. They own their homes. They have low diversity here. Is it time to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One last thing here, just to show you is that, they're into Twitter. They're satisfied with their jobs. They eat Greek yogurt, organic fruit, smart TV. So it's really cool to see that you actually have access to not only with ArcGIS, you have access to more and more content and information.
Yeah.
The end. Sorry.
Awesome.
Thank
No,
you,
that's
guys.
great. We just have the class outside waiting for us. So thanks again, Jasmine. We really
Thank you,
appreciate
guys.
it.
Thank you, Jasmine, for